Have you ever noticed that many couples spend months planning their wedding but very little time preparing for the marriage itself? Think about it. The venue, the colors, the outfit, the photographer, the guest list, even the honeymoon. Everything is carefully planned. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. A wedding is a beautiful celebration. But here is the question. How much time do we spend preparing for the life that begins after the wedding? Because after the music fades, after the guests go home, after the beautiful pictures are taken, real life begins. And sometimes, real life brings conversations we never thought to have. What if one of you has a medical condition that could affect your future together? What if your expectations about having children are completely different? What if one of you believes in seeking medical treatment while the other believes prayer alone is enough? Or maybe the conversation isn't even about illness. Maybe it's simply about honesty, about trust, about giving each other the opportunity to make informed decisions before saying I do. Some conversations are uncomfortable, but avoiding them doesn't make them disappear. It only postpones them until life forces you to have them. Welcome to Clarity Before Commitment, where we ask questions many couples don't think to ask until it is too late. Our goal isn't to tell you who to marry. Our goal is to help you ask better questions before making one of life's biggest commitments. Because better conversations often leads to better decisions. Today's conversation is one that many couples avoid. Medical conversations every couple should have before marriage. So, let's begin. When people hear the words medical conversations before marriage, many immediately become more comfortable. Some even ask, if two people truly love each other, why should health matter? That is a fair question, but I think we are asking the wrong question. The real question isn't should health matter. The real question is, can two people make informed decisions without honest conversations? You see, medical conversations aren't about looking for a perfect husband or a perfect wife, because the truth is, none of us is perfect. Every one of us has something we are dealing with. Some challenges are visible, others are not. Some are temporary, others may require lifelong management. The issue isn't whether someone has a medical condition. The issue is whether two people can be honest enough to face those realities together. Marriage is one of the biggest decisions many of us will ever make, and the decisions of that magnitude deserve openness, not assumptions, not secrets, not fear. Honest conversations doesn't guarantee a perfect marriage, but they do help couples make informed decisions and prepare for the future as partners. That is why today's conversations isn't about creating fear. It is about encouraging wisdom. Because when couples understand each other better, they are often able to support each other better, and sometimes one honest conversation before marriage can prevent years of confusion afterwards. So, where do we begin? Let's start with one of the most common medical conversations couples should have before saying I do. Can I ask you a simple question? Do you know your genotype? And I don't mean what someone told you years ago or what is written in an old piece of paper that you've never confirmed. I mean, do you know your genotype through a confirmed medical test? It may sound like a simple question, but for many couples, it is one of the most important conversations they never have until marriage is already around the corner. Now, let's be clear. Talking about genotype isn't about judging anyone. It isn't about labeling people. And it certainly isn't about deciding someone's worth. It is about understanding the possible genetic implications for your future children and making informed decisions together. Knowledge doesn't force a decision. It simply gives you the opportunity to make one wisely. So here are a few questions worth discussing with your partner. Do we both know our genotype? Have we confirmed our genotype through a medical test? If our genotypes are not genetically compatible, how do we plan to handle that reality? Would we be willing to seek advice from a qualified healthcare professional before making a lifelong commitment? These are not easy conversations. In fact, they may be uncomfortable. But remember what we said earlier. Some conversations are uncomfortable before marriage. Many become unavoidable after marriage. The goal isn't to create fear. The goal is to replace assumptions with understanding. Because when couples have honest conversations early, they are often in a better position to make informed decisions together. And that's what clarity before commitment is all about. Now, genotype is only one part of the conversation. There's another topic that many couples find more difficult to discuss. Let's talk about fertility and reproductive health. Let's talk about another conversation, one that many couples quietly hope they will never have to discuss: fertility. For many people, the assumption is simple: we will get married, and when we are ready, we will have children. And for many couples, that's exactly what happens. But for others, the journey isn't always straightforward. The truth is, fertility is a shared journey. Challenges can affect the man, they can affect the woman. Sometimes they affect both, and in some cases, doctors are unable to identify a clear cause. That is why fertility should never become a blame game. It should become a team conversation. Before marriage, it helps to ask questions like, have either of us had a medical condition or surgery that could affect fertility? Have we discussed our reproductive health with a qualified healthcare professional? If a healthcare professional recommends a fertility assessment before marriage, will we both be comfortable doing it? If we experience difficulty conceiving after marriage, how long would we wait before seeking medical advice? What are our thoughts on fertility treatment, adoption, or even remaining child-free if that ever became necessary? Now, this conversation doesn't mean you are expecting problems, just as buying health insurance doesn't mean you are expecting to fall sick. Having honest conversations about fertility doesn't mean you are expecting infertility. It simply means you are preparing for different possibilities together, and preparation is not a sign of fear. It is a sign of wisdom. Unfortunately, not every couple has these conversations, and sometimes the consequence can be heartbreaking. Let me share a real life story. A woman shared that she and her husband had been trying to conceive for almost 5 years. Looking back, she realized that one of the biggest problems in their marriage wasn't just infertility, it was the conversations they never had. For almost 2 years, she encouraged her husband for them to visit a hospital together for fertility evaluation. Each time he refused. After much persuasion, he eventually agreed to do only a sperm test. The results showed azoospermia, a condition where no sperm cells are found in the semen. The doctor explained that further evaluation and treatment would require his full participation, but he refused. He believed prayer alone was enough. His wife believed in prayer too, but she also believed they should seek medical care alongside their faith. As the years passed, the argument became more frequent. Hope slowly gave way to frustration. She said she became emotionally exhausted. During one of the lowest moments in her life, she admitted making decisions she deeply regretted. Eventually, she decided to leave the marriage, not simply because of infertility, but because they could no longer face life's challenges together. Towards the end of her story, she said something that stayed with me. She wanted to undergo a complete fertility assessment before entering another relationship. not because she stopped believing in marriage, but because she has never wanted to enter another marriage without clarity. Let's pause here for a moment, because this story isn't just about fertility. There's something much deeper going on. Let's pause there, because this story isn't easy to listen to. Whenever stories like these are shared, people often rush to decide who was right and who was wrong. Some people will blame the husband, others will blame the wife. But if we stop there, we will miss the bigger lesson. This story wasn't simply about infertility. It was about communication. It was about honesty. It was about two people who slowly stopped facing life challenges as a team. One person refused to seek medical evaluation after receiving a diagnosis. The other became emotionally exhausted and eventually made decisions she deeply regretted. Neither outcome was healthy. One lesson this story teaches us is that a medical diagnosis doesn't have to destroy a relationship. Many couples face health challenges together and grow even stronger because of them. What often causes deeper wounds is silence, denial, fear, pride, or refusing to have difficult conversations. Another important lesson is this: faith and medical care do not have to compete. Many people hold deep religious belief while also seeking appropriate medical treatment. For many families, prayer and professional healthcare work hand in hand. And finally, this story reminds us that preparing for marriage isn't only about planning a wedding. It is about asking honest questions, sharing difficult truths, and deciding whether you are both willing to face life uncertainties together. Sometimes, life teaches lessons we rather learn from someone else's experience than from our own. That's why conversations matter. Now, let's continue with another conversation that has caused unnecessary blame in many homes. Understanding what determines your baby's sex. In some cultures, when a couple has only girls, the woman is blamed. In other families, the pressure begins after the first child because everyone is hoping for a boy. Sadly, some women have experienced criticism, rejection, or even emotional abuse over something they never had control over. This is why these conversations matter. From a biological standpoint, it is the father's sperm that determines whether a baby will be male or female. Understanding this simple fact can prevent years of unnecessary blame and help couples support one another instead of pointing fingers. But these conversations goes beyond biology. It's also about expectations before marriage. It is important to ask questions like, do we both understand how a baby's sex is determined? If our first child isn't the gender we hoped for, how will we respond? Will either of us feel pressured by family or cultural expectations? In our families, are children treated differently because they are boys or girls? Will any child receive special treatment simply because of gender? These may seem like distant questions today, but they often become very real conversations after children arrive. Every child deserves to be welcomed with love, valued with dignity, and given equal opportunities, regardless of whether they are a boy or a girl. When couples have this conversation before marriage, they are better prepared to protect their relationship and their future children from unnecessary pressure. Now, let's move to another important conversation, one that many couples don't think about until pregnancy arrives. Pregnancy and delivery expectations. When people imagine childbirth, they often picture everything going exactly as planned. But every pregnancy is different. Every mother is different. And every delivery is unique. Some women will have vaginal delivery. Others may require a cesarean section because it is the safest option for the mother, the baby, or both. The important thing is to remember this. The goal isn't to prove how the baby was delivered. The goal is to bring both mother and child safely through childbirth. Before marriage, it is helpful to have an honest conversation about expectation. Ask each other, what are our beliefs about vaginal delivery and cesarean section? Would either of us reject a medically recommended cesarean delivery? If complications arise during pregnancy or childbirth, how will we support each other? Are our expectations being shaped by accurate medical information or by family traditions and cultural beliefs? And perhaps the most important question of all, do we both agree that the safety of the mother and the baby should always come first? These conversations may seem unnecessary before marriage, but when emotions are high and difficult decisions need to be made quickly, it is comforting to know you have already talked about them. Marriage isn't just about celebrating life's joyful moments. It's also about standing together when life doesn't go according to plan. Pregnancy affects more than the body. It can also affect emotions, stress, and mental well-being. So let's talk about another conversation that deserves just as much attention: mental health. When people talk about medical conversations before marriage, mental health is often left out. Not because it isn't important, but because many people don't know how to talk about it. The truth is, mental health is just as important as physical health. Life brings different experiences: stress, loss, trauma, disappointment, anxiety, depression, grief at different points in life, and any one of us may need support. Marriage should be one of the safest places to have honest conversations about those struggles, not a place where people feel ashamed or afraid to speak. Before marriage, take time to ask each other questions like, have we been honest about our mental and emotional health history? Do we understand each other's stress triggers? And how we usually cope during conflict season? If one of us ever needs professional counseling or therapy, would we be willing to seek help together? And perhaps one of the most important questions, how do we create a relationship where both of us feel safe enough to speak honestly without fear of judgment? These conversations aren't about expecting problems, they are about building trust. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give your partner is knowing they will never have to carry life's burden alone. Supporting one another doesn't always mean having all the answers. Sometimes it simply means being willing to listen, to understand, and to walk through difficult seasons together. Our physical and emotional health matter, but our everyday habits matter too. Let's look at one final conversation: lifestyle habits and long-term health. Before we bring today's conversation to a close, let's talk about something that often goes unnoticed: our everyday lifestyle habits. Sometimes the biggest health challenges in marriage doesn't begin with a diagnosis. They begin with daily habits. The food we eat, how much we exercise, whether we smoke or drink excessively, how we manage stress, whether we get enough rest, or whether we ignore health concerns until they become serious. These habits don't just affect us as individuals. Over time, they can affect our spouse, our children, and the quality of life we build together. That's why lifestyle should also be part of your conversations before marriage. Ask each other questions like, Are there any lifestyle habits we need to discuss honestly? Do either of us have a long-term medical conditions that require ongoing care? How do we encourage each other to live healthier lives without becoming controlling or judgmental? If one of us needs to make healthier choices in the future, how can we support each other? Marriage is one of the longest partnerships many people will ever have. Healthy habits won't guarantee a perfect marriage, but they can help create a healthier future together. Because love isn't only expressed through words. Sometimes, love is encouraging each other to take care of the life you have been given. One doctor's appointment, one healthier meal, one evening walk, one conversation at a time. So, after everything we've discussed today, before you say those two life-changing words, I do, here is one final checklist. I'd like to leave you with something we simply call before you say I do. Marriage is one of the biggest commitments many of us will ever make. And while no amount of preparation can answer every question, the right conversations can help you make wiser decisions. So, before you say I do, ask yourself, do we know each other's medical history? Have we both confirmed our genotype through proper medical testing? Have we had an honest conversation about fertility? And how would we respond if the journey becomes more difficult than we expected? Have we discussed our expectations about pregnancy, childbirth, and supporting each other through unexpected medical decisions? Do we understand what determines a baby's sex? And are we committed to loving every child equally, regardless of whether they are a boy or a girl? Have we spoken honestly about our mental and emotional well-being and created a relationship where both of us feel safe asking for help? Have we discussed our everyday lifestyle habits and how we will encourage one another to live healthier lives? These questions aren't designed to create fear. They are designed to build understanding. Because the strongest marriages aren't built on assumptions, they are built on honest conversations, mutual respect, and willingness to face life's uncertainties together. No relationship is perfect, and no couple has every answer, but better conversations often lead to better decisions. If today's episode made you stop and think, share it with someone preparing for marriage. It might be the conversation they didn't know they needed. And I'd love to hear from you. Which of today's conversation do you think couples avoid the most? Let us know in the comments. Every respectful opinion helps someone else learn. And if you are new here, welcome to Clarity Before Commitment family. We are here to have honest conversations before lifelong commitments. Because every healthy marriage begins long before the wedding day. The wedding lasts one day. Marriage lasts a lifetime. Prepare for both. Until next time, keep asking better questions. Keep seeking wisdom. And remember, because commitment deserves clarity. See you in the next conversation.